Welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be answering a question from the audience. This question is, if public opinion has little impact on policy adoption in America, how can we ensure that the voices of the average citizens are heard and their interests are represented? Well, I have four pieces of advice for you here. One is just don't vote. The system needs you to participate, needs you to feel like you're a part of it in order to have some sense of legitimacy. And so if people aren't voting, that shows the rest of the world and that shows the populace at large that people just don't believe in that supposed democracy anymore. And so by voting, you're conceding that the system is working well enough that it's worth attempting to fix it through voting. And that's just not the case. Our current system, you can only have people from either party have a chance to get elected. And as we know from how they treated Bernie Sanders, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, or should I say the RNC and DNC, the various national committees, they do not allow candidates that they don't want. And so if a certain candidate has, say, a foreign policy position that they don't like, that's not going to be allowed. That candidate's not going to be allowed to succeed in the election. And by voting, you're saying that that's a good enough system that we should maintain it, we should work in it. And that is just simply not the case. Another thing you should do is you should opt out of what I call the bread and circus. The bread and circus is that they have a huge apparatus of food and entertainment. So that's the bread and circus. Food is the bread, circus is the entertainment, where you're supposed to eat very unhealthy foods to stay sedentary in life, so that you're not a mobile enough person, you're not an energetic enough person to actually work against the system. You're not able to protest the system. You're not able to voice your concerns because you're just kind of like sitting there being a couch potato. And the circus aspect is you're supposed to have some type of entertainment in order to distract you from the decline of the West and specifically America. And so what they'll do is they'll sit you in front of a television, have you watch sports, which I think is, I mean, it's good to play sports because that's a good team activity, good for athleticism. But if you're sitting around watching sports, eating Doritos, it's just you're wasting your time. And what they want you to do is do that. And so what I'm telling you is opt out of the bread and circus. Don't eat the unhealthy food that makes you want to sit around all day, and don't just watch the entertainment that they want to have you use as a distraction. Because if you're going to be heard, they have to feel like your dissatisfaction is something to be concerned about, that they should actually listen to you. And if you're too lazy and too distracted to do anything about it, they're not going to listen to you. Another thing to do in order to be heard and have your interest represented, call out the elites. It's very clear. We have the internet now. It's very easy to figure out who the elite are, how they're exploiting people, various illegal arrangements they have. You can call them out, and the fact that they're not getting arrested for these illegal arrangements. I mean, there's so many people now that have been brought in front of Congress who have outright lied, and they've just not been held accountable for it, despite the fact that they lied and that's an illegal act. That, I mean, the system is at least a two-tier system where, well, I would even go so far as to say it's very obviously a three-tier system where if you're poor, you just lose in the system no matter what. If you're rich, you can pay your way out of a lot of things. And if you're a part of the upper class, like the extremely influential people, no laws really matter to you. You could do whatever you want. You could lie in front of Congress. And from what we've seen, that does not seem to matter. I think it was the FBI director I just recently heard about. He was saying that there were no FBI agents at the January 6th protests, and now evidence is coming out that yes, there was absolutely FBI agents there, and the FBI director lied to Congress. And so, I mean, there's very clearly some people who can get away with just outright illegal acts, and they're not going to be held accountable for it. And the final thing you could do is, well, I would just emphasize at the end there is, please just call out the elites. When you see that type of hypocrisy, call it out. But the last thing you could do is express dissatisfaction. And so once you're not voting anymore, once you're healthy, active, been going to the gym, been really taking care of yourself and ignoring silly distractions and calling out the elites for their hypocrisy and double standards, make sure to express your dissatisfaction. Make sure that people know that you want to have your interests heard and represented in America, in the American government system. Because right now, it's very obvious that they don't care, and quite frankly, given all the things that they've gone away with, they don't really have a reason to care. I mean, no one's going to do anything. People are extremely obese. They're extremely distracted. They're still voting to a large extent. You have some people calling out the elites, but then you have the majority of people still scoffing at it. Although I shouldn't say that, the majority, because recent studies have shown that the majority of Americans do believe that the FBI has influenced, has meddled in prior elections, which is shocking because now the majority of Americans are saying that the intelligence community is meddling in our elections. It's working against Americans' direct interests. So scary stuff, but you have to take care of yourself if you want to be able to have your interests met and make a change in this American system with the problems that have been arising in the system. So, yeah, that is the answer to my this question. Thank you for your time, and I hope to hear from you again.